I want to talk about breast cancer. I probably say that word and we all kind of shudder, rightfully so. I chose to share this story on the internet because it has been a year. It has been 1 year since I made a huge health change in my life, and I wanted to discuss what warranted it. Rewind back a year or two ago, actually longer than that. It was a couple years ago. And I started going for my annual mammograms because where I live, you start annual mammograms at 40. On my first mammogram, they say, oh, Carrie, you have dense breasts. Well, dense breasts are really common in younger women. I think up to 50% of women, maybe more, have them. And the challenge with dense breasts is that it really clouds the mammogram. You can't see through dense breasts. So they require additional screening just to make sure that screening was effective and that there's no cancer there. Okay, so then I had to go for an ultrasound. And man, did I find that really anxiety provoking. I went for the ultrasound, and then I had cysts in my breast, which are also really common. And I have to go every 6 months to be screened. And I am so grateful to have the opportunity to get to have that screening. But I sat with how I felt with it. What I mean by that is I had a lot of anxiety around breast cancer. I felt really, really scared of it. That was a huge realization for me, in the sense that I realized I had two choices. I could continue to be really, really worried about it, or I could do my research and do everything in my power to prevent it. So I chose option B. One of the things that I learned, which really honestly changed my health without really knowing it at the time, was alcohol consumption. I loved red wine. I loved to have a glass of red wine in the evening. I did that most nights, and I didn't think too much about it. And when I read that 3 drinks a week, 3 5-ounce glasses of wine, which aren't a lot, increase your chances of breast cancer by 15%. That's a lot compared to women who do not drink alcohol. Then you can add another 10% for each additional drink that woman is drinking per day. And so if you are having a 9-ounce glass of wine, that's almost 2 drinks a day. I thought about that, and I thought, Carrie, if you are going to continue to be anxious and nervous about breast cancer, then you can't continue to drink alcohol, because they're really conflicting against each other. So that day, I never had a glass of wine again. And to be honest, it was a huge change in my life. If you had asked me 2 months before that, Carrie, would you ever quit drinking red wine? I would have laughed. It was a part of my world. It was a part of my social life. It was a part of my evening routine. And I honestly didn't think too much of it. And so I cut it out. And I'll tell you, got to experience so many more health benefits that came along with that, because one bonus is that I'm perimenopausal and I had a lot of anxiety, one of them being anxiety around breast cancer. Well, guess what? Cutting alcohol out of my life decreased my anxiety. It decreased my risk of breast cancer. It improved how I slept, and it improved my skin. I lost weight. The list is long. I say this because I think it's important that women talk about this. I never considered myself someone who had a drinking problem. Yeah, I loved red wine, but I had a glass a night. But I knew, as a mom of 2 boys who was worried about breast cancer, that in order to release that, I needed to do everything in my power to mitigate that risk. And the biggest thing that I could do was cut out alcohol. And I felt nervous about it, if I'm being honest, because it was such a part of my life. But I'm so glad I did it. And it has changed how I feel. It has changed how I think. And that's worth it to me. And so I just wanted to start the conversation. There is no shame here. But I just wanted you to know, as a former wine lover, that it can be done. And if you feel worried about these things, cutting back or trying a 30-day challenge can make a huge difference in how you feel. If you have questions, put it in the comments. I would love to start the discussion.